Good day and welcome to the Florida sunshine. Here it is, another blue sky day, 90 degrees, just kind of typical Florida weather. Even during the winter months it can get around 90. We had some days where it got really cold this year where it got down around 40. We joked about that in CIP during prayer time because I'd be sitting there calling 40 absolutely freezing and other people would be hammering the ice off their cars. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, down here in Central Florida, there's one event we usually never ever see during the winter time. That being snow. Now, what does this have to do with Philippians chapter 4? Paul says to ask for all things in prayer. He doesn't specify the size, he doesn't say how big, he doesn't say how small, he says ask for everything. A number of years ago, my daughter, then about 5 years old, prayed a very innocent prayer. She asked to see snow while we lived down here in Florida. That winter, it snowed. It wasn't much, just a couple of icy flakes just dripping down, no accumulation whatsoever, and didn't stick anywhere. But she got to see snow. She asked for it. She got it. Paul writes to take everything to God in prayer. Now, we know to take the big things, the big decisions in life to God in prayer, and we of course are faithful to pray for them simply because we want God's hand in it. So I want you to think about, first of all, what are some of the examples of the big things we tend to pray for? And to turn that around, what are some of the little things that we don't pray for? And more importantly, since we need God active in all aspects of our life, why do we overlook the little things? Now, Paul is sitting here in early chapter 4, talking about both joy and prayer. And he doesn't just mention prayer. He doesn't say, hey, just go out and pray and you'll be happy. He's a little smarter than that. He doesn't just say pray. He uses words like prayer, supplication, thanksgiving. He wants you to understand what you're praying. He wants you to be deep in your prayer. So the question is this: as we look at Paul writing here, how can right praying lead to joy? Now, along this same line, in verse 8, comes to, what do we think about? What do our minds dwell on? Here's a little thought for you. The typical American, according to the A.C. Nielsen Company, is going to spend 9 years or more of his or her life watching TV. By the time we're 65, we'll have viewed 2 million commercials. Even by the age of 18, by the time someone's turning an adult, they will have already seen 200,000 violent acts on TV. Now, I'm not saying turn the TV off, although it would certainly be a good idea to turn the TV off. I'm not saying to turn it off whatsoever. But, does this exactly fit with what we're supposed to think about? Now, when we look at verse 8, what are some examples of these things that we're supposed to be thinking about? And what does it mean to think on these things? Now, everything Paul has written about has led to joy. And one thing that joy ultimately leads to is contentment. Now, contentment is one thing that a lot of people search for, but they just almost seem to give up on it. They just become victims of their circumstances. They'll go, oh, well, this happened, I'll survive, I'll make it through it. If you read Paul's writing towards the end of the chapter, many times he talks about how he can accept all things, how he can do all things, how he already has everything that he needs. He is completely equipped. And when he realizes that he has all these things that he needs, when he can accept anything, it becomes more than just an I'll survive mentality. It becomes an attitude of joy that just tends to overflow and leads to contentment. So, the question is, what tempts people to become victims of their own circumstances? And how do Paul's words speak to the definition of being content? And what challenges does popular culture present that makes it difficult to be content? This is how Paul ends up writing. He ends up writing about contentment. This is how he closes this letter. That's been full of joy. That's been full of contentment. That's been full of teaching. These are the things that we need to think about. Things that bring joy, things that bring love, things that challenge us to grow. These are the things that we think about. I'll see you on Saturday night.